Tua Tagovailoa no longer the starter. Quinn Ewers is the new starting
Yeah.
quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. What does this mean? This is a dawning of a new day, whole new era. Tua chapter closed in Miami. Is that how we should read this?
Yeah, I think it's time to start playing the numbers game. And we've seen this play out before in Denver with Russell Wilson, in New York with Aaron Rodgers. When we talk about the teams with the largest cap hits that absorb the contracts of quarterbacks that they once thought were going to be their future, I think you have to turn to Denver and the Jets for instructive ways as to how they handled it. The Denver Broncos this season still have $32 million in dead cap money against their cap for moving on from Russell Wilson. It was initially over $50 million last year against their cap. It's $32 million this year against their cap, and they still have the best record in the AFC currently. The Jets moved on with a $49 million cap charge from Aaron Rodgers. Tua Tagovailoa is going to have a $99 million cap charge if they decide to move on from him. That would be the single largest cap charge in NFL history, and they certainly could spread it out. There are a couple of ways to look at this. They could release him after June 1st. They could see if they wind up trading him in much the way that the Houston Texans once traded Brock Osweiler along with a draft pick to the Cleveland Browns. I remember the day that story happened, and Bill Polian was on the desk there at ESPN, and he's like, that can't be. Nobody ever trades a player and a pick to take on the contract. But these are different times with some larger contracts, and this certainly would be in that category. But clearly Miami is going to be moving forward without Tua, one way or another. You don't make the decision to bench him and go with a rookie quarterback in Quinn Ewers without the idea that you're essentially separating right now. It's just a question of how the relationship officially dissolves and how they move on from him. But this was the first step in that happening. They have begun the process of moving on from him
Okay,
now.
sounds good. Now, tell us where it went wrong, because a couple years ago, they put up 70 on the Denver Broncos. They were the talk of the town for offenses. Tua was all in. He gets a new deal. He immediately goes right to the group of people that can't afford regular tickets, so they go to training camp. Maybe some local sick kids come into training camp and start screaming in their faces, "Show me the money." Was this the moment where it all went south? Like when? Obviously, he had a couple concussions, which we were all very worried for him. Something went bad, though, because he got worse at football. Like, none of us really understand how did it happen, you think? Where did it go wrong?
It's hard to pinpoint. I think the concussions and the injuries began to play a part in this. I think he's played through some other injuries here, but I don't know that he's been fully healthy, and I don't know all the injuries that he's been through in the past have taken a toll. Look, when Mike McDaniel got hired, he came in there and resurrected the career of Tua Tagovailoa, so much so that they signed him to this contract that now is going to become a major sticking point with this organization. Somewhere along the way, he didn't get better the way that some people do. And if anything, he seemed to regress.
Yes.
And now they're at the point where they've decided to bench him for Quinn Ewers. I can't give you a specific moment when it went south, but I think part of it is the injuries taking their toll. Part of it is him not improving and regressing, if anything. I don't have that specific answer. I wish I did, Pat.
Tua put up 70 points against the Denver Broncos with that McDaniel offense whenever he goes down there. They were using late motions, late shifts. They were doing a lot of that stuff, kind of innovated, changed the game. Do you think defensive coordinators caught up to them? Do you think Tua just wasn't as sharp as he used to be? Why do you think we saw a regression in performance, clearly, by McDaniel and Tua down there in Miami? And him getting benched, obviously, is the end of an era of Tua in Miami. What do you think the future potentially looks like for him, Luke? So I think you start with how and why we got to this point in Miami, and then what do you think the future looks like for Tua, Luke?
Well, I think it was certainly the production wasn't there. Obviously, the Tyreek injury hurt them. Robert Hunt coming to Carolina. I know you guys already referenced that. Same thing with Armstead. The pieces that they've had in the past aren't there how they used to be. Now they kind of rely on Jalen Waddle. A-Chain's obviously a really good running back, but I think a little bit is people have caught up to the motions a little bit. All the pre-snap shifts, all the pre-snap motions, that was all very new in the way they did it. But as people see more of it in the communication on the defensive side of the ball catches up, it becomes a little bit easier. But I think you guys kind of nailed it a little bit. You watched Tua after the game. It's like, man, like how serious is he's on there, talking with Jalen Ramsey. It's like, man, just get in the locker room, be with the guys. If you need to talk to Jalen, you can do it behind the scenes. But like you said, it's the end of an era. They had a great run there. But like you said, all first round picks are going to get another opportunity. He's produced at a high level in the past, and there's nothing to say that he can't do it again.
Yeah, it's what was it about him that made him a great player? His accuracy, his anticipation whenever they were humming? What do you think it was? And for you, as a guy that was on defensive side, what are the most important things a quarterback to have that's most lethal against a defense?
Well, I think he knew where the ball needed to go very quickly, and his accuracy was there. And I think as people kind of cut up to it and they lost some of the vertical presence from Tyreek, when you have those two guys that can burn, Tyreek and Jalen Waddle, it puts a lot of stress on defense. But now when you only have one vertical threat to worry about, the game changes a little bit. But I think what allowed him to be successful is he understood that offense. He knew where the ball needed to go. He played with great accuracy, anticipation, and just hasn't quite been the same this year.
Okay, let's move away from just Tua in Miami, even though that's huge news. I mean, he was the number 5 overall pick to the Miami Dolphins, obviously coming out of Alabama, a lot of success. Mike McDaniel got hired there to make Tua great just a couple years ago. They're going to take on the biggest dead cap in the history of the NFL if they decide to cut Tua, which we all assume will happen. Good luck to him in the future. We can't wait to see what's next.
Jay's breaking news today. Tua is being benched in Miami, and Quinn Ewers will get his first start against the Bengals. It feels like a lot of people might have saw the writing on the wall with the Jalen Ramsey Tua yuck it up session after they got blown out. And I believe he was the last one on the field with Jalen Ramsey, having a jolly old time, even though their season was inevitably over after this loss. They are no longer lurking. What are kind of your takeaways from the Tua time in Miami, and where do you think Miami goes from here? Just because, it was kind of one of those things where they score 70 points versus the Broncos a few years ago. They're changing offense in the entire NFL to this moment in time now where this has become a complete joke. Miami and the Dolphins look awful after kind of going on a little run during the season.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little. I know that this is, old man get off the lawn type situation where it's old school. But I think I'm a believer in there is like at least a minimum responsibility on the optics and everything with the fan base and understanding um, how everybody's feeling after a certain game or after a way the season is going. And the fans, I mean, the players, everybody cares so much about this game. And I do believe, and trust me, I'm not sitting here saying don't laugh and in that, you can't talk to a friend after a game or anything like that. But like, I do think that there are some optics of when you're cracking up, like belly laughing on the field after you just lost a huge game in that way to be eliminated from the playoffs like that. That's a look that doesn't go over well, whether it's with certain other players in the locker room, whether it's with ownership, whether it's with the fan base. Like there is a responsibility, especially when you're the highest paid player on the team and you are the leader of the organization. That's just not a good look, truthfully. I mean, point blank, you can't be doing that after a huge loss.
Yeah, I was up for it. So, I felt like a younger version of me, by the way, stayed all the way up through that entire thing. I think I was trying to celebrate with the Inzer people who did not boo Renegade, which is a very cool thing. I think it was active text messages coming from Pittsburgh about the team. We're all the way back. We're winning the Super Bowl, so maybe that's why it was up. Game ends. I go to the bathroom, okay? I come back out. Tua is still on the field, okay? I go, Bluey is going crazy. Got to settle him down, come back in. Tua's still on the field. Tua's last guy off the field, basically. And it's like, how is the quarterback for the losing team last guy? And to your point, I felt like old man. I was like, don't get mad about this. This is not a thing. This is different generation. Obviously, him catching up with Jalen, that's good news. Him and Jalen are friends. Jalen likes Tua, still has respect for Tua, wants to talk about Tua. That means Tua's a good teammate. Like, I was going through all those things in my head, but then I was just at the end like, you'd never see any quarterback that's going to win a Super Bowl have that situation happen. Like that, you would never. Patrick Mahomes, would we ever see him after a loss, jovial, the last person off the field at an away game at an away stadium after a loss. It's like, no. Josh Allen, you would never see that. Like Peyton, Tom, I don't even want to have to get into that whole conversation. Drew, yeah, right. Drew was like genuinely shoot pissed, it felt like every time. So then I started going back into that conversation. I'm like, this is year 6 for this. This guy's supposed to be, is already a made man at the quarterback position getting paid. I just keep asking, where did this all, was it them trading away every good player that they had? Maybe. But they still had a chance to make it in the playoffs. Does he seemingly not care? Do him and McDaniel get along? Does the franchise like him? Does he not like the franchise? You start asking all these questions, and then they announce that he's benched for a 7th-round draft pick, and then you're like, well, what the fuck's wrong with Zach Wilson? Is Zach Wilson okay down there? Then I start asking all these questions, and then you immediately all the way lead back to this team hasn't won a playoff game in 25 years. Okay, so there's probably a lot of problems. Let's assume that there'll be a fresh start for all parties, and hopefully it goes better. Let's go to the other half of the hammer. Dahn, Cowboys, Bubba Gumpino. Good news, bad news. We've moved on from Tua time.
Unfortunately, it is good news because I liked Tua when we drafted him. I believed him in him. But you go back to like his best season. You remember how big he was? Like he was muscular, stood in the pocket, took hits, threw the ball deep, and then he got paid and he completely changes everything. Like everything changed. And then this year, he throws teammates under the bus. Every time he talks, it's never his fault. And then that was the end of it on Monday night. Like, you can't do it anymore. He's the face of the franchise doing this shit all season long. It's been 2 years of this shit that nobody's noticed.
They cut Matthew Judon. Judon is released by the Miami Dolphins. His deal is 1 year, $6 million. I don't know what that means for how much money is remaining. Will he clear waivers? We assume. We assume he will. But this whole Dolphins thing, like McDaniel, we assume...
Yeah, bye-bye.
It's over, and it's just like a restart down there. And that's where we're at right now. We're staring down restarts at some teams, and then we're staring down potential Lombardis at others.